I'm Steve Geeter, your host with the most weed from coast to coast. Got some Gelinade this morning, but this is Into the Cannabis, and thanks for joining. And
Yeah.
my guest today is Tammy Pettigrew, the Cannabis Cutie. Thanks for joining, Tammy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be back onto the show.
It is. I think, well, I know so. I looked it up. October 19th, 2020 was our interview that we had last when we met. And I know that a lot more people follow what you're doing and get exposure to some of these awesome information and concepts that you're putting out there now than back then.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely have had some growth since then, worked on some different projects and learned a lot more. So that's been fun.
Right on. And I do recall over the last few years seeing you, taking pictures with and hanging out with just about most of the big names in cannabis that come through anywhere near SoCal or anywhere in California for that matter. I think maybe even,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you were out in a Vegas show or something too. I don't know.
Yeah, I've met some really cool legends in the game and have learned a lot. And then, of course, like checking people off the bucket list that you want to smoke with in cannabis has been fun as well. I'm super blessed to be able to do that.
Right? I mean, Snoop's got to be on that bucket list, right?
Yeah, he absolutely was on that bucket list. It was a dream come true.
And I got a Snoop claim to fame story too.
Nice.
Could you tell me a little bit about your Snoop experience?
Yeah, so I was actually doing a live for a cannabis media company, and I saw that there was DMs coming in from Snoop Dogg, and I was like, oh man, they're so lucky. Like Snoop just said he wants to work with them on a cannabis initiative.
Easy, right?
And it was actually to my Cannabis Cutie DM. So he had saw an educational video that I put out about the Kent State Massacre. Um, and yeah, that was kind of the beginning, and then I was brought in to kind of help with some things. So that's when I smoked my first meeting with him to discuss those things.
Right
So
on.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right on. I had a when I had an experience to meet Snoop when he came to Humboldt years ago playing a concert, and I was a local company sponsoring the event. So I bought myself a meeting with Snoop, I thought. And to make a long story short, I had to fight my way onto the bus. But once I got on the bus, I had I had a couple ounces of some chronic that I hooked Snoop up with. And, he was impressed. And he wanted to hang out for a few minutes, despite his security guard's, request. And we hung out for a minute, and then we realized that the security guard kind of snagged one of the ounces that I gave him.
Oh no.
So like that whole weird, awkward moment when Snoop was like, "Wait, what?" And the security guard kind of looked his head the other way and handed the ounce back over. And then
Mhm.
we had got to experience it, talked about the weed, and smoke a little herb, and gave him some shirts, and we hung out for a few minutes. It was cool because he wasn't tripping. He was just like a regular dude, is what I thought.
Yeah, for sure. That's the vibe I got too.
That was cool. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, this guy's a big dude. He's also a regular dude,
Hmm.
that likes to get high as much as I do.
For sure. I think he's probably one of the people that helped with destigmatization just by use alone.
Just by the use alone, like when we were much younger, 20 some years ago,
Yeah.
maybe close to 30. If I think about it.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I mean,
Snoop.
him, Willie Nelson, a few others are examples of like all those commercials that we had in the 90s. This is your brain on drugs. Like they are walking examples that that's not the case.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I know the first time I saw the Snoop with Martha Stewart stuff, I was like, whoa, this is like a strange remix of the Don't Do Drugs commercials from the 80s and 90s. I was like the remix.
Right. And then the meme that went around about them, the only one of them in the picture is an actual felon. And it's Martha Stewart.
And it ain't Snoop. He never got caught.
Right.
No, I see a lot of legacy talk and people talking about the way back days, and some people like attribute this like legacy thing to whether they got caught or not.
Right.
And some other people are like, shit, that just means you got caught. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you've been here just as long, I ain't got caught. You know, so
Yeah, not everybody gets caught. There's a lot of legends who never got arrested.
true. I know Willie Nelson's not one of them. He's definitely been arrested.
Yeah.
But as far as over the last couple of years, like I think 3 years ago, I don't know how. I'm not sure when you started your program. Can you tell me more about like when you started it and what the goals were there?
Just like the whole platform.
Yeah, the whole platform. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, it was an idea that came to mind in October 2019. That's when I started the Instagram. I didn't execute until January 2019, but the entire intention of the Cannabis Cutie was to discuss cannabis education and science. Because I had just learned the science and my mind was blown after a decade of spouting the benefits without any of that information. It
Right.
was just through my own experience and my friends' experience and intuition was how I was always explaining it. And then once I learned about the endocannabinoid system, it was like, okay, this has to go beyond just my community and my friends and my family. This needs to, be on the internet because I can't find this information anywhere, at least not in an easy to understand way. It was very high level scientific. Um, so I was like, no, regular schmegular people need easy to understand cannabis education. So yeah, Instagram is where I took it because I couldn't find it on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere.
Right. Oh, that's what I love about what you're doing is it's you put out a lot of information all the time, very educational stuff, whether it's for science or mental health or just the breaking down the different stigmas and stuff, right, that surround the cannabis plant and the people that utilize that medicine or adult use enjoyment thing they have. It's not everybody sees cannabis as medicine, but you can't really remove the medicinal facts from something,
Yeah.
and that's it. The medicinal facts. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is like I love seeing you dropping different facts out there and hearing what people have to say about that because that's how we learn. Is really having these conversations and
Yeah.
getting different perspectives. And everybody's
Correct.
pro cannabis to a certain point. It gets a little greenwashed in a way
Yeah.
when somebody doesn't want to poke out other areas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of people are for cannabis to a certain extent. I think one of the biggest ones where people are like, "Oh, I don't like this," is when you're talking about cannabis and pregnancy or during breastfeeding or
great.
just being
Yeah.
a parent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Great topics. Great
Hmm.
topics. I'd love to dive in there a little bit. We'll take a dive into this right now. Yeah, breastfeeding and pregnancy and use of cannabis. I do have 4 children, and I've had two women as parents with myself of these 4 children, and so I have my experiences. Obviously, I haven't birthed children for my body, but I've come really close. I've caught the baby right at the very moment it made its way into the world. And I've been there as long as I could for 4 pregnancies by my
Yeah.
partners to make that experience as best as possible. And both of
Hmm.
my partners have had cannabis use as part of their life and stuff. And when they got pregnant, it pretty much it ceased up. It was like, all right, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to smoke the weed. For the
Yeah.
most part. Maybe there's a couple here and there, but I would say too, neither one of those, my son's moms there, were like daily cannabis users.
Right.
Like myself, for example. I've been using cannabis daily for 30 years now, and if I got pregnant, it would be different than one of my partners because they weren't like using herb every day.
Right.
So I have other friends who are women. Obviously, they got pregnant and they decided to use. But I always noticed they drop back. People drop back, and they're concerned about the health risks or health factors when pregnant. And what have you learned about those topics? And you got any input on that?
Yeah. I've learned a lot. I've carried 2 pregnancies as well to term. I have 2 children, and With my first, I was not very interested. I was like, oh no, this was when I was still learning about cannabis, knew that it benefited me in a great way, but obviously this can't be good for a baby, not
Right.
knowing about the science yet in the endocannabinoid system, not knowing that our bodies were biologically engineered to receive this plant. I had none of that information yet. Um, my second pregnancy, I knew more, and my second pregnancy was a bit more challenging because my son, I don't care what they said he weighed, he's so much more denser than that. And it was just a lot on my body growing a boy. It was not as easy as a girl. So I began to consume for back pain, shoulder pain. I couldn't sleep. I was constantly uncomfortable. Um, so I started using it for relief and it was beneficial. And I would only use to the point of relief. I wasn't doing it just to get completely blazed out of my mind,
Right.
the way that I would at a social gathering. It
Right.
was the minimum amount needed for relief. And then when I started to learn about the science, that's when I found out historically in different societies and countries, it was absolutely used during childbirth and labor, post childbirth, during childbirth. It was actually considered a medicine for it in so many cultures, Southeast Asia. It's, now they'll prescribe you what I just spoke about on my page recently, Zofran, which is known to cause birth defects because this drug was never created with pregnant women in mind. It was to help chemo patients with nausea and surgery patients with nausea. It was never intended or created with babies in mind. And now we know it's starting to cause birth defects. Cannabis, is inconclusive when it comes to the effects that they know that it has on a baby, but we know for sure it's not causing cleft palates. It's not causing any kind of deformities. So I believe that if a mother feels like that's what she needs to do to help her through her pregnancy, that's her business, but also shut up. So don't tell anybody.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, and it's also like you know this whole idea that pharmaceuticals are good for us and help us with things, and that weed is bad. Okay, just that whole concept is archaic at this point. We've got
Yeah.
to evolve a little bit here as a civilization, even. And now I think we have. I think Minnesota is the 23rd legal state for like rec,
Yeah.
adult
Yes.
cannabis. That's a that's a great number, and it's a good step in the right direction. We're almost halfway in our
Right.
country, and that's a hard thing to comprehend because if you think about how backward some of our states are currently, even up until the last couple months, we've all been blown away with some of the votes related to human rights, women's rights,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So to see cannabis kind of started to progress, I think I've seen it because of the money around it. A lot of
Mhm.
and because of the health benefits. But I kind of feel like the health benefits were more like a way into the money for a lot of people that got into the cannabis, if you will.
Yeah.
Many people have been doing this before you would really call it a biz.
Right.
Although it's the same principle. You buy and sell things and make money from it. It's been a business
Right.
from ever since I ever knew about it. Long
Right.
before that. But with legalization, it brings in a whole nother realm of different folks that are now involved in our greater community. And for me, I think I don't know, I love that aspect that we get to bring more people across the green bridge. That's what I always like to call it. Come across the green bridge with us. And part of the stigma
Yeah.
with like I think with growing a child in your body and smoking at the same time is that smoke has a negative health impact,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
there's so many other ways to use herb, and now that we have legal cannabis, we've got the dosing down to a pack, right? And so it's easy for anybody to get involved and to take a little tiny bit of something, a micro dose, if you will,
Yeah.
to try it out, And I think that's, so for you when you were pregnant, and or other times, I can see you're using a vapor right there. So you got like a mixture of like a low temperature vape
Yes.
going. So you got a tiny little bit of smoke and a whole bunch of vapors.
Yeah.
And are you smoking on some rosin there? What do you
I
pop?
am smoking on some live rosin. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd I guess?
The little pipe.
Those are dope pieces. I've seen a lot of glass blowers blowing custom glass pieces.
Yes, it's been really cool. And that's another thing. It brings innovation as we get more precise with dosing and different products, which also I think helps bring people to the plant more. They're like, okay, I don't like the idea of smoking and being pregnant and smoking. You're right. It's like the toxins that come from the smoke, especially if you're incorporating tobacco. So then, and what I did when I was pregnant, I would use a dry herb vaporizer, and that was my method of how I was consuming. But yeah, I wouldn't say that smoking is a good idea. Even maybe edibles, you just have to be careful. Or tinctures, those go straight to the
Yeah.
to your bloodstream through underneath the tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many different ways. I mean, to get relief that doesn't have to come in the form of pharmaceuticals. Like, we have so many pharmaceuticals and we're still such a very unhealthy country.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we consume more pharmaceuticals and more sugar than every other country out there.
Yeah. It's ironic.
And even with cannabis, a lot of our medicines been encapsulated into candy. You know,
Hmm.
sugar,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
sugar. And
Yeah.
and for sure, like people like to dose in different ways. I've always liked tinctures. Can you tell
Hmm.
me more about some of your favorite ways to consume cannabis other than smoking or vaping? What do you like?
Um, okay. I typically dabble in tinctures here and there. I'm not a huge fan of the oral consumption methods just because I feel like it could go either way. And something I've learned about myself is that citrusy smelling terpenes, not necessarily limonene, but more the orange, one, I feel very weird. And it would make sense that if you're using that to make edibles, that I'm now feeling very weird. So I think that could be playing into why edibles are hit or miss for me. It's the terpene content. So I kind of typically like to stick to just smoking with a hemp wrap, not with any papers. I hate the way that burning papers makes my lungs feel as an asthmatic.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't use asthma medication when I'm consuming cannabis smoke via hemp wraps. Other methods are definitely going to irritate me. Even vaporizers, I have to be very sparingly with that. And then I guess another way is topicals. Although I'm not going to have any feeling of being high, topicals are a really great pain relief, like so fast.
Yeah, topicals are great, and I think one of the biggest benefits I've seen with a lot of topicals is that since they're made by a lot of herbalists typically, and people
Hmm.
who are into holistic plant medicine, they typically put other herbs and roots and plant medicine into these topicals, which also have effects that a lot of people just aren't used to using. So they get to feel this entire entourage effects of holistic plants working together um, to create those impacts. I have as soon as I have an ache or something, I have at least 5 or 6 different things in my cabinet. I'll just
Yeah.
go grab the closest one, really. Cannabis infused topical from
Hmm.
someone local, either some products from Kiss Canoe. That's a good friend, Gretchen. Has been making that stuff for many years. Humboldt Herbals products and the apothecary. I have some Humboldt apothecary.
A
Uh,
really good one. The
still,
spray.
yeah, and so you find your right medicines and you stick with them. Typically, when I find something that works, I'll get 2 or 3 more next time and hold on to
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Especially in this age of like ordering things, you don't always get stuff at this local shop because the whole system broke down over the last bunch of years. We had to start finding our shit different spots. I buy stuff in a little bit more in bulk, you
Yeah.
know.
You
Like
have
toilet
to.
paper, I usually buy a pallet at a time. I'm just kidding. But I do remember when people were doing that.
I remember I got ahead of the curve and I went and got everything that I needed 2 weeks before the great toilet paper apocalypse.
I just made sure I had enough dabs first, and I was like, all right, I need a half
It
ounce.
was the weed for me too. I was like, dispensaries are about to close. That was my priority.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I use cannabis daily, and I use it for mental health. As I also use it for some physical health related topics, and I also use it for just enjoyment. I like the psychedelic and creative effects that I get from a little more cannabis than
Yeah.
less. You know, and I think we've lived in this culture where alcohol has always been like cool, you know,
Yeah.
and like weed's been kind of cool too, but it's been, it's gotten cooler as alcohol has kind of fell off. Like
Yeah.
if you think about what's cool right now across the globe and stuff, it's like alcohol is not as cool as it used to be, and
Not since the pandemic, not, after people have
way
sat at
cooler.
home.
And weed is
Yeah.
cooler, you know.
Sitting at home for a year, being drunk, on days by yourself with nobody, you start to like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Right?
So a lot of people did turn to cannabis because it's much more enjoyable to be at home after consuming, and you can, as long as you set your intention, you can use your high P, whatever benefit you want. So to be creative, to enjoy this TV show, to journal, or to enjoy time with your partner, or just better sleep. So there's so many ways that it can be used for a positive. And alcohol, unfortunately, I think a lot of people learned that there's not a lot of positives associated with it once you kind of remove yourself from social situations with it.
Right. Yeah, well, there's a lot of positive benefits. Many people who use it can attribute. They could tell you exactly ways it helps them and whatnot. And
Mhm.
from the outside, it's people are pointing the finger and things. Often, in the world, I've always noticed people that like to point the fingers are usually on one side of the fence. They're like on the hater side, and and they're not
They're
necessarily
usually projecting,
not
is what I've
necessarily
noticed.
living it out. Like, yeah, they're not living it out. They're just like spitting it out.
Yeah, like Martha Reagan, with her whole say no to drugs, she was a pill popper. Elvis Presley wanting to eradicate weed smokers and anybody who liked the Beatles. He died of a poly overdose. It's all projection, just like LGBTQ, legislation. Some of the worst legislation has been passed by closeted lawmakers that have been outed after the fact. So yeah, it's a lot of projection. I think, the most judgment comes from people who consume alcohol. And it's like, you do know that they've repackaged an alcohol withdrawal with the word hangover to make it cute. It's one of the most dangerous drugs known to man. It is manufactured in facilities and it will eat your liver, your brain, your self confidence, your family, your relationships. Cannabis is a great unifier. It's not doing this. If alcohol is so detrimental, it's worse than, heroin if you actually look at the statistics and what is happening. So it's projection. It's, you don't even realize that you're a habitual drug user yourself, but you're judging me for my fungus and my herbs. No, no, no.
No, yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't. Um, part of
right.
our angle today was part of my angle was trying to talk about some things too related to parenting and some of these
Mhm.
situations that come up, and diving in a little deeper here too about I think about some of the I live in Humboldt County, right? So there's a different level, and I live in California, right? And
Yeah.
so both of those things provide a different acceptance level of cannabis, even over the last, like, I'll say 30 years. It's like when I moved to California some 25 years ago or whatnot, I already knew what I was getting into. I moved from Philly and New Jersey, right?
Okay.
And there was some, once it got dark and party and stuff, then you could find people to talk about weed and shit. But when it was sunlight out, everybody was around, you wouldn't really talk about it. and shit.
Yeah.
You know, I moved out to California, and then the old heads were in the daylight. We're talking about it because when I moved to California, 215 had already passed, Prop 215 in 1996,
Mm-hmm.
and in 97, not much really happened with it. 98, they started to implement some stuff, and I moved
Right.
here in 98 and got to be, I was one of the first 100 California patients. I just happened to move here at that time, but having this reflection to the social norms out in California. If you're at a party, a barbecue in the middle of the day, you go over here, someone's smoking a joint. That was a normal thing. You smell
Right.
weed in there. Nobody's like,
Yeah.
nobody cared that much about it as much as they did. And sure, California has its conservative communities and super liberal ones. And I'm in Humboldt County, so as far as like liberal, it's very liberal here, but there's some conservatives too. But I guess what I'm saying is when I show up to places smelling like weed over here, as a parent going to the meetings and stuff, I still try to be respectful of other people's space. I usually try not to be stinking like anything, really.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe, but other than that, it's like I'm not ashamed if I smell like weed. I've been in this community for 23 years, helping people grow weed from my grow shop, selling them
Right.
fertilizer, and
Okay.
then creating cannabis events for the community to come to, and doing all these different things. So I am like a cannabis dude in like a cannabis community. So it's like
Right.
I'm like the poster boy for weed out here.
Amazing.
I get on the mic and I do these things, but I've been doing this for years because I had a legal business. So I have a unique perspective. But when I go to other communities all around the world, I see it's so different from where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and the acceptance level. So I'm just curious, like, I know I believe you're right out in the LA area, right? And
Yeah.
Orange County, maybe
I was in Orange County last time I moved to LA. Yeah.
moved to LA. All right, so
Yeah.
my memory works. See,
Yeah. I went from super conservative to super liberal.
right.
Yeah.
Good for you. It probably feels a little better being in the super liberal community, smoking
Yeah.
weed. I remember too. I think you were like getting high in the car. It was like you had
Probably.
we were
Yeah.
like driving the car and whatnot, and that was always the place to get high. When I lived back in Philly, it was you got high in your car and drove around. It was like
Mm-hmm.
the only spot to get high.
Right.
But I'm just curious about like school meetings and sporting events or other social family parent events. Like what kind of you're like a cannabis famous person now. You know with the word
Gosh, in Orange County, it was not an issue.
right.
In LA, I've had a parent come up to me at a basketball game, and then there's a parent at my school who follows me. So um, it's a bit uncomfortable because I still have, as a mother, like CPS is still something you don't want to deal with. So
Sure.
I kind of don't get involved too much with my kids' school. Just because I don't want to have these conversations. Like in Orange County, I would have conversations with specific moms who then would smoke with,
Yeah.
which was amazing. But in LA, even though it's more of a liberal city, I still am so apprehensive for moms to know this because I don't want anybody to discriminate against my children. Like, oh, you can't go to his house or her house. We don't want you playing with them.
Right.
That's, yeah, a fear.
No, I'm over here. It's like I'm out here at the local, coffee shop. It's like I'm like 30 feet away from the sidewalk. You
Yeah.
can't quite see in here, but I see people walk by. All the kids are in the class right now, so I'm not tripping on it. But as soon as noon hits, they'll be right there, right? And these are kids. I'm the coach on the team sometimes, right? So could I be out here puffing on this thing discreetly, kind of discreetly,
Yeah.
sticking up the place? When I already know some kids' moms don't want them getting in the car with me because I drive faster than they do on the road.
Yeah, I've had a kid's parent say that my house smelled like weed, which it absolutely did because I had just come back from MJ BizCon and my suitcase had been hot boxed a million times in my car. So yeah, it smelled his suitcase was right by the door, and like even that's like, you just never know. But yeah, I think the basketball game one was quite embarrassing. The mom was like, "I've followed you for years. I love the work that you do." And then she said, "I'm in the cannabis industry too."
Right?
And we were standing outside of the gym, a bunch of parents and kids, and I was just like, cool. Like, oh my gosh, I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
So you said,
But
yeah. So I don't. I mean, I have more questions. Maybe you could tell me. It's not. We're not. We don't want to talk about it or something. But you said there's a parent that follows you. Do you mean like follows you on Instagram or like follows
yeah,
you?
on
Like, follows?
Instagram.
Okay. All right. All right. I
No,
thought.
it's on Instagram. Yeah, it's a follower. Yeah.
Gotcha. I bet
Yeah.
there's a lot more than that. You just.
Oh, I'm sure.
You just
Nobody
recognize.
else has said anything. Which, at my school I see a lot of recognizable my kids' school, I see a lot of recognizable faces. Like, oh my gosh, they're on my favorite Netflix show. Or like, oh my gosh, I've watched them. They're a child star. I've seen them my whole life. Like,
Right.
so it's possible. But
We
again,
grew up in
like
Hollywood with all some famous people and shit too.
in the valley, a lot of people live in the valley. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Cool. 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 That must
Yeah.
be fun. Going to having the sporting event, whatever. So do you have two children?
I do. Yes.
You do, and
Yes.
they play sports or dance and swimming and this kind of stuff, or what? What do
Yeah,
you?
they're still finding their niche. One is in middle school, one is in elementary, and they're both kind of figuring out what they like. I'm trying not to put pressure on that
All
at
right.
all. Yeah.
There's a lot of things to do, you know.
Yeah. And then, being a mother of a middle schooler, kids are consuming cannabis in middle school. My daughter yesterday was judging these girls for vaping cannabis, and they're like, it's better than Nick, which I guess is nicotine now. And my daughter was like, it's still really bad for your lungs. And the girl said, your mom talks about how it's good. And my daughter doesn't tell anybody, like all cannabis kids, they know to, not speak on it. But kids today Google you. So the probability that parents know is very high.
I know. It's just the way it is, right? And it's
It's the
different.
way it is now.
You know, if you go back to Philly, it ain't like that still. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. Color me shocked. I was like, kids Google each other? Wow.
That's all they do, right?
Yeah.
No, but I feel you. I remember years ago, when all this legalization stuff started in 2014, I got out there at a couple community things and I said some stuff that I still feel now, and lots of people felt too, but people weren't really saying it out loud yet, quite. Just about all these things we're talking about now and stuff, and legalization and what it should be like, and why we shouldn't be ashamed and all this. And I don't know, like a couple months later, my son was like, "Dad, you're on Google," you know. He was like 11 or 12 and tell me like the homies see me pro weed on and like because that's when they started smoking. Some of them, the one friend got in trouble. He smoked some weed in the bathroom at school. You know?
Yeah,
There's,
that's
there's always that friend.
still a thing.
And with vapes, it's like a whole different scene, you know.
Hmm.
And with social media and Google, the way it is now, I'm 46, so the way not compared to 35 years ago when I was 11, like that's a long time ago. A lot of things have changed. I don't know how I would have made it through school if all this shit was happening back then, you know?
Yeah.
Just different
Exactly.
ways. You just
Yeah.
everybody evolves differently, but it's an interesting reality to try to think about, you know.
Yeah. Kind of balance yourself between the two.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is the walk of life, trying to be authentically who we are and still kind of fulfill the desires of society in a certain way to be accepted and respected, you know?
Yes. Figuring out which agreements you're okay with and which ones you're
Yeah.
going to break. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, to not be like hyping up, yeah, I'm Cannabis Cutie at the basketball game for the kids or whatever. Maybe that's what you're comfortable with being, you know, and like
Yeah.
that's how it should be. You know, people should probably caught on and was like, oh, okay, maybe she don't want to talk about that out loud right now, you know.
No. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a probability I may change my stance on it one day, and then I am that mom, and I'll be okay with that, you know, but it's definitely not June 2023.
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of things have evolved, and cannabis events have evolved, and the way
Yes.
people gather around cannabis socially have evolved, and that's a big part of this whole thing. Most of the people that are going to be coming to our event, CannFest, in September 9th and 10th, they're going to be coming. They're a 21 and over event only, so we're already adults only at the party because that's how legal cannabis sanctioned events are in the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. We want to have, you know, sales and a retail lounge, and we want to have all the big brands and distros and famous cannabis people from across the country and the world want to be at Humboldt's cannabis event and show up, be there. So we're doing it all through the DCC, and we have everybody. We're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, and you know, making sure we do everything right. So it's an open, comfortable environment for everyone in the community that's 21 and over or 18 with your medical card to be a
Okay.
part, you know. And so we were reaching out to you because I wanted to see if you'd be one of our judges in our Head Stash Championship.
Okay.
And then, you know, that's basically, we have this competition going on, and anybody in the whole state that's over 21 can submit samples.
Okay.
Whether they're commercial growers or they're home growers, right?
And I get to judge all the flower?
And you could be one of our cannabis famous judges that gets to judge the flower and pick your favorite.
Yeah, I would love to judge flower.
You'll get judge of all the samples of flower that come in, and you'll get at least 3 weeks to test it out and pick your favorite. And then you and the other 41 or so flower judges will submit your favorite. Oh,
Okay.
I'm freezing up here.
I can hear you.
Huh, that's interesting that happened. I don't know how that happened. That's messed up. All right, well, I'm frozen, but my voice is still going. I guess I was just saying, so the CannFest Bowl Head Stash Championship, it's a rosin and flower competition throughout the state, and we're giving over 10K of prizes away and cash to one winner of the best rosin and one winner of the best flower. So as a judge, you'll have over 3 weeks to test all the flower samples.
Okay.
And we have flower judges and rosin judges. So you
Okay.
could pick either one. You could pick either one totally. You mentioned flower, but you could pick rosin. Up to you.
Okay.
And then we'll get you all the samples after they've been tested to be clean. We just want to make sure the stuff's clean. We
That
don't
is
really
amazing.
care, you know, as far as deciding which are better. We're just going to let the judges decide, not a test, which ganja is the best. And so we will do lab tests of the winners and some of the finalists, just so we can show results and do compare and contrast with that. And so we have some drop-off locations all throughout the state. We have like 7 now, and we got 3 or 4 more on the hook regionally.
Okay.
So all these growers in their different regions can go represent their region and drop off at their regional drop-off store. And then we'll collect all those samples. July 29th, the samples are due. And the next day, we collect everything and get it to the lab. Once it's clean, we'll get all the samples to the judges. And you'll have, like I said, 3 weeks to test them.
Okay.
And we really feel like everybody has a personal experience and a way they like to decide what they like is best. And so we don't have any rules about how to decide which ones you like best.
Okay.
You're the judge, not me. You
All
know.
right.
And yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, count me in. Thank you for the honor.
no, that would be great. I know you're getting to test a lot of people's stuff. I see you all up in all kinds of grow rooms and different companies who are some of the leaders for sure in the industry and put out some of the best
Yes.
flavors and some of the best shit that's out there. I'm like, okay, all right, you see, you know those guys too, and okay, she's hanging with these people. All right, you're doing a good job out there as far as I could see of like finding your way in the right spots, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
in fact, another friend of ours, Kay, Jungle K,
Yeah.
I just noticed, I think yesterday or sometime soon, recently you posted something, and he was too, of you guys all rallying together. Looked like the circle, the smoke circle of champions or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All about.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Kay and his education.
He does good. He's out here? He was out in SoCal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He came to LA for a couple of days to get some work done, and he's back in Chicago now.
Right on. What was there some type of event? I couldn't see what that was. Some kind of PAX fair.
Yeah. Puffco launched their new product. Yeah.
What was the new product? Was it that shiny looking?
Yeah. The Puffco Peak Pro got some updates to it.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool.
Excuse me.
I'll
Yeah.
have to check that. I'll have to look a little deeper.
Yeah.
I just saw a whole bunch of people hanging out under
Yeah.
the heads there.
I was out of town and I missed it. I'm so sad that I missed it. It was very Apple-esque, um, with a little bit of Oprah Winfrey mixed in it. So it's like, here's our new product. It's so cool, and it's under your chair. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice. I like
pretty
that.
sweet. So yeah, love Puffco how they're managing product launches and things like that. It's pretty cool.
That's cool. So,
Hmm.
as one of our judges, you're going to get a couple VIP tickets to an invite-only party we're having on September 8th.
Okay.
Head Stash Gala. And speaking of like brand premiere drops, that's what this party is. It's a brand premiere and awards party. So we're
Okay.
going to giving out the awards and announcing who won this cultivation and rosin competition.
Okay.
But we're also going to be offering the stage for brands to premiere something about their brand or some drop they have in a unique way. Together, there's 13 slots available, either 15-minute or 30-minute slots, and any brand that wants to from the industry can premiere something this way instead of behind the booth or on the show
Ah.
floor.
Okay.
This is come up on the stage. You got 15 minutes, or you can get a half an hour slot,
Okay.
and that is the entertainment as well as the talk of the night. So throughout the
Okay.
night, we'll have a bunch of slots. They'll be in between. It'll be a little bit of a variety show. We'll have some live music.
Ooh.
I have a hip hop artist who's going to be working for us, and he's going to be helping premiere some of our strains that we're dropping in some songs and some spoken word
Okay.
in like a 15-minute to 30-minute session. So we have some other company. I don't want to give anybody's stuff away, but they're talking about having other live performers. I guess I won't even give any details away, but
Okay. Sounds
some
like it's going to be an
performers.
amazing Canna event.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like something Puffco might want to get down with because
I
as,
would hit them up.
as you were just talking about how they were having this unique, brand premiere type thing. That's what we're looking for. Companies that are trying to create something unique in the industry here. We don't want to just keep doing the same thing everybody else is doing.
Correct.
It's getting a little bit stale sometimes, friends.
Yeah.
Let's
We
step
need new
up our
ideas.
game. Step up the game.
Yeah, we need new ideas.
We have some of the most creative people that I've ever met in the cannabis industry, in the biz, and
Yeah.
in the community. Lots of artists, doers, inventors, creative minds, people
Yeah.
think outside the box. So step up on stage, drop one.
Yeah. I love that idea. I think that's going to be great. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's an invite only party. We could have up to I think about 900 people in the house.
Okay.
Anybody who gets a booth or vends or anything at CannAFest, they're getting a pair of tickets for, and then all the people who sign up to be judges or compete in the
Hmm.
competition, they're all going to be invited. And
Okay.
then we invite, we'll invite everybody we know from the industry that we want to see at the party that couldn't make CannAFest proper. They'll be invited too, and we hope to have a unique experience, and that's what we do. We're just trying to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
We can't keep all doing the same shit, and the corporate model of a trade show isn't that fun.
Yeah.
CannABis is something totally different, and I hope you can make it up here. We're gonna do
Yeah,
everything
for
we do to
sure.
get you up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my best attempt as a mother of two.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't know if you have anything upcoming you want to give any viewers that'll watch this a shout to, or led in some directions.
Yeah, I always love to plug my book club. Um, in the cannabis, in the higher learning education book club, we talk about all things cannabis and we sesh while we do it. Right now, we're reading a book by Martin A. Lee called Smoke Signals. And
Okay.
this is our second time doing this book, but we read this one, kicked off with this one, and then we read so many books that were all touched on briefly in this book. So now that we've expounded upon a lot of these topics, we're going back through it again. We're almost 3 years old. You can join us. It's every Wednesday on Zoom, 4 o'clock p.m. PST. But if that's not your jam, there's all kinds of other fun ebooks on my website, courses, or you can just tune into the daily education on my Instagram at the Cannabis Cutie.
Oh yeah, no, I always get caught up with the conversations you're having with your one friend that's on there often with you, a woman with some glasses on and brown hair. Um, I don't know if she's a doctor or a healthcare, or maybe not. But anyway, I, that's a bag of shit. I get caught up in stories, and then I'll click a couple buttons, and then I'm watching something. I don't.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know who you're talking about. She lives
All
in
right,
Seattle. Yes.
what's her name?
She's the cannabis scientist. She's the cannabis
Cannabis
scientist.
scientist. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Her videos are freaking amazing because she pulls out the molecules. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I
I
believe
love those.
her
I love.
handle is at Maya B PhD, MIYAHB PhD. I'm not sure. She's really popular on TikTok as well.
Those are fun. You guys are fun.
Yeah.
Ladies are fun to watch.
Yeah.
And bringing some positivity to the whole space is like that's what you're doing, and with real information, and you know, I think people should follow you. So if they're not yet, follow, follow,
Yeah. Follow me. I
follow.
appreciate
Subscribe.
being here with you today.
Yeah, this has been great. I
Yeah,
appreciate your time,
for
and
sure.
I look forward to linking up around the community. And
Yeah.
I sure hope you can make it up to CannAFest. We'll keep inviting you.
Yeah, I want to.
Happen, it's a beautiful time of year. It's going to be up here on the bay. We have
Hmm.
you can see the ocean and the bay, and you look over here and there's mountains and redwoods all from this park right on the bay. We'll have boat rides and kayak rides, so you can actually get out there during CannAFest, and it'll be a real festival, music festival with everything cannabis, open consumption, and the whole thing. You don't got to go in like the weed cage to get high, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
Amazing.
yeah, and we have we have two spots for educational talks the whole day,
Okay.
as well as two stages for music, plus a DJ booth in the cannabis lounge, and our healing dome. We'll have a healing dome where yoga will be happening and talks about holistic medicine, and
Yeah.
Sisters of the Valley are going to be in there talking about.
Oh, yay. Okay, yeah, this sounds great. This sounds like, yeah,
We mix
September
it up.
8th.
We do all things community and cannabis. It's just been 7 years since we did the last one in Humboldt, so it's been a while. So we're excited to get it going. But anyway, it was just another invite. I'm not trying to
Yay.
promote. I just get excited about this stuff.
No, I mean, your passion shows, and that's all you can ask for.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Tammy, and
Thank
I hope you
you.
have an awesome weekend.
Me too.
And I look forward to linking up real soon.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Peace. So thanks, folks, for joining in and following here. Subscribe onto this channel here at Into the Cannabis on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. We post up some clips now and kind of point everybody over here to the YouTube channel. So thanks for being a part of what we're doing. And my name is Steve Geeter, and we're going to bring you back here. We were way, way out into the cannabis somewhere. We're coming back. So thanks for joining me. It's been another great episode. Thanks, Tammy, Cannabis Cutie, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Peace.